Hello everyone, welcome to the Redmen TV. It is the Originals podcast. Today's episode, we'll be talking about the Accrington Stanley game, and it's a bit of a transfer special as well, so we're going through all of the latest Liverpool rumours and news, and there is news as well. And to go through all of that, I'm joined by Ste P, by Chloe Bloxham, and by Dan Clubb. We're going to start, of course, with Accrington Stanley, but before that, I'd just like to tell you that on Friday evening, we'll be going live about 6:45 for another sort of transfer show with a few other fan channels and stuff. And we'll be having a game of poker, so please join me on Friday evening from around 6:45, 7 o'clock for that one. Gentlemen, lady, Accrington Stanley, what would you prefer? Not lady?
No, it was just the half break. Yeah. I was one of the lads there for a second. That's fine.
Okay, that's cool. We'll start with Accrington Stanley. Ste, 4-0 win at the weekend. It was a nice one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was good to see some of the lads who needed minutes. Nice to see Rio get a go as well. He looked really sharp, really turns away from trouble really well. The thing that strikes me with him is his balance. It's probably one of his strongest attributes, but slightly stronger than we would have expected, but in keeping with what Slot does. He's not really one for massive rotation and putting out all the kids like we did a few years ago. So a relatively easy, straightforward win. Probably needed it off the back of difficult performance at Spurs and then totally losing the plot and playing the occasion in the crowd against United. So back to winning ways, a welcome back to winning ways.
Absolutely. Chloe, we went to the game together on Saturday morning. I quite enjoyed the 12:15 kickoff. I wasn't looking forward to the 12:15 kickoff, but by the time it was finished and I was home and warm, I really enjoyed the fact that it was a 12:15 kickoff.
Yeah, I think what you actually enjoyed more though was the fact that your kids weren't in the house. And
yeah, that's
you got
true.
To go back
Fair enough. I had a couple of
was.
hours to myself after the game, and it was fantastic.
But yeah, no, it was a lovely occasion. Really happy for some of the Accrington Stanley lads, obviously, who are boyhood Liverpool fans. Great occasion for their fans to come to Anfield. I mean, they nearly had their moments. They hit the bar. They had some really good counter-attacks in the first half. But obviously, Liverpool are just a class above them. And in the end, you know, we do run away with it. But overall, a lovely occasion. Got to take my niece to the game. She loved it. And the amount of little kids that were absolutely bouncing off the walls with watching Liverpool and scoring. Because these kind of games, younger fans are able to go. But it's always like, it's lads who they probably have never heard of before, where because we went slightly stronger, there was loads of players who, the likes of Trent, who obviously little kids are well aware of, so it was great for them to have that moment as well.
Absolutely. And Dan, we'll start with the sort of getting into it then. What did you make of the starting 11?
Yeah, I was slightly surprised the day before when we discovered what it might be, but yeah, I was a little bit shocked by some of the inclusions.
Was Canati in that side?
He was the one that dropped out, sort of mysteriously in many ways, and Mataro Endo.
He wasn't on the bench.
No, I thought he wasn't involved in the squad whatsoever. And Endo kind of got promoted to that squad, and he was suddenly involved. So that was a little bit of an eye opener, a little bit shocking. But no, yeah, I was really pleased with it. Obviously, I've watched a lot of young Rio and Gamoa, and he is exactly what he says on the tin. And that was sort of the most pleasing thing from his performance for me on Saturday, actually, in terms of he just played exactly the same way that he does in the 18s. He wasn't overawed by the occasion. He didn't think, oh my God, this is my first team debut. I've got some more experienced operators around me. I need to get the ball to them as quickly as possible. He just got the ball in front of people, which I've seen him do 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times playing. He's playing down at the academy. So really refreshing, really exciting. But yeah, in terms of the personnel, it was exactly what Steve said, really. It was perfect in many ways because you get some minutes into some lads that need it, which could stand them in better stead for what's to come, which is obviously a very thick and fast fixture schedule. And also some lads get some days off. Some people not even involved in the squad at all. Obviously Mo Salah and Virgil van Dijk. So yeah, the perfect blends and a mixture of youth and experience, some confidence in some more lads as well. Obviously, like the Jaden Dans, Trainee only comes on late on and gets involved. Chiesa gets an important involvement too. So yeah, all in all, proper professional job, really pleasing afternoon's work. And at the same time, as Chloe said there, like I was really Chloe.
I mean, I've been called a lad and now
it's been a good 5 minutes for you, hasn't it? It's really pleasing to see Accrington Stanley acquit themselves in the manner that they did, because I thought they give a really good account of what they're all about. And I was gutted for Josh not scoring that goal when he hit the bar. Like I would not have begrudged him. In fact, I'd have been delighted for him had he scored that.
Their manager was lovely as well.
Boss John, they all were. The fans, and I must say on the Accrington fans, actually, they put a tweet out on their main sort of fan accounts, put a tweet out the night before saying, "Don't be like all the other fans when they get to Anfield and sing the usual," you know. And they did. They handled themselves perfectly. So yeah, credit to them as a football club, all in all.
Absolutely. Okay, we're going to get into it then. Something I want to get everybody's opinion on, actually. If I could have a line to begin with from each of you, and then we'll sort of dig into it a little bit afterwards. So, what, if anything, Steve, can we conclude from Trent starting and captaining in this one line?
Shape of things to come.
Oof. I can't wait to delve into that one. Chloe Bloxham.
I have no clue.
Okay. Dan Club.
Yeah, sending a message.
Sending a message.
I think so.
Let's start with Steve's then. What do you mean by that? Because I'm going to go, it can be read two ways, what you said there. So say it again. And
Shape of things to come. And the reason why I said that is I am now in the camp I think he'll sign.
Okay.
Just reading between the lines, reading the room and that, what have you. I think there's a good chance he signs. And if you read the alleged comments from the journalists, part of that contract will be wants to captain the football club at some point in the future.
Okay.
So
that's really interesting.
Thickening the plot a little bit, because I actually am now in the camp where I think all three will sign.
All three?
Yeah. I wasn't expecting that. Okay. Dan?
I wasn't expecting that either. I'd love to be in that camp with you, Steve. We'll pitch a tent together, but I can't be right now in terms of all three. I do think Trent signs. I think Trent stays, actually. Mine is similar, of a similar vein. And he obviously wants to be captain of the football club, like he's currently vice captain, so it's a perfectly natural step up, and he'll see that, you know, the end at some point will come for Virgil van Dijk, and that will be his armband. I think that's absolutely imperative to where he's at in terms of his mindset. I saw it as a real positive, actually, because I think it would have been easy for him to have the day off or just not start the game, but potentially once he got wind of Virgil not being involved, he saw that as an opportunity to captain the football club and step out as captain in a game where a lot of people might have expected him to sort of rest or be on the bench at most. So I saw that as him potentially going to somebody like Slot and saying, no, I want to play. I want to be involved. I want to captain. I want to lead by example, set the tone for some of the youngsters. He knows a couple of lads in the Accrington side as well, so there's an angle to that. He knew the managers, he referenced as well post-match. So I think he walked
down with them after the game. He was the last one off the pitch, Trent, and normally it's Harvey, and Trent was there way after the clock.
Yeah, I think he's coming
much empty.
Coming for a hell of a lot of criticism, hasn't he? And I think that was him trying to again show what he's all about and how much this football club means to him, and that hasn't just evaporated overnight. And I said it there, when Virgil isn't around and when Virgil's having a well-earned break, he's vice captain. So guess what? He stays and he plays. And we've often spoken about Virgil playing in games where maybe we think he shouldn't. I think that was where Trent was at with this, and thinking, I'm going to step up to the mantle here, and in your absence as leader, as captain, I'm going to do it. And I thought he did it brilliantly.
Chloe, did you take a similar viewpoint to Dan and to Steve?
It made me feel a little bit better about the situation, just because obviously after his goal he's had a lot of criticism. He came off that pitch against United and there was a lot of thank God get Conor Bradley on. There was a lot of that from probably 40 minutes into the game onwards, and then obviously he scores. It's an absolute worldie of a goal, and then the fans sing his name and he puts his arm up to the crowd and then he claps us as he comes to the Kop and he faces the Kop. And players don't really do that after you score. You don't clap the fans because they sing your name. You just get on with it. So it was nice to, you know, first of all, back him as a player because he's still in red right now, and everyone can be anxious about it, but right now, whilst he's still in a Liverpool shirt, you back him and you support him. But it was also just nice to get the recognition because I was there for Spurs and he went straight down the tunnel. He didn't come over to the fans, he didn't clap the fans, and there was a lot of people going, hey, has anyone just seen that? And that was a lot of the talk coming out of the ground. So I just saw it as a make the peace, carry on, it'll get sorted at some point, hopefully.
Okay. I am going to play devil's advocate here, but not because it's my opinion, because I imagine there are going to be a lot of people out there who have this opinion. Trent has obviously been in the news more than ever before over the last 6 weeks, maybe longer. He's put in a poor performance against Manchester United, one where it had most of the fans questioning how much effort he was putting in on the day. He then starts an FA Cup game that the big players sit out. Could you maybe look at that and go, well, he's off, or the manager now puts Conor Bradley ahead of him?
No.
I don't think so. No. And I understand that point of view, and there's been massive questions about his commitment to the cause. I'm not saying him starting against Accrington is him showing how committed he is or the fact his heart's still in it necessarily. But I think he remains the first choice right back until he leaves the football club, if that indeed does happen this summer. I don't see as a pecking order changing around. And I genuinely believe, I'll come back to what I said a moment ago, I genuinely believe he will have been part of the conversations with Slot about saying, let me start this game of football. Let me, again, lead from the front, lead by example, be the captain for the afternoon. Because I thought he got the bad performance out of his system a little bit in midweek. I thought he was decent when he came on against Spurs, actually one of the bright sparks from what was an otherwise pretty mediocre performance. So I don't think he needed that necessarily, because he'd already done that a little bit with his half-an-hour cameo preview. So I don't think he needed a good performance or a nice, pleasant afternoon. So again, I think it would have been easy for him to set out that game and Conor Bradley start it. I think we could have, there's even young lads we could have done it right back if we needed to. I think he wanted to show he was still fully on board.
I'd agree. It's a chance to address the criticisms of the Manchester United game, where questioning his attitude, questioning his work ethic, questioning everything really. Yeah. You know, like Chloe says, couldn't wait to get him off after 40 minutes. This is an opportunity to come out. There has to be a watershed moment in all of this where he looks at it and goes, this is a mess and what's happening isn't right. It's not right for me. And Man United at home, biggest, fiercest rivals, Scouse lad, and didn't turn up. So if I want what I want, which is to extend, and again, allegedly he's never intimated he wants to leave, but the deal has to be right, and the deal would include at some point in the future being a captain. That's how you address that. You go out, you do what you did. Oh, doesn't matter whether it's Accrington Stanley. It's your behaviour, your demeanour, and your performance on the day, and you can't fault it. So maybe it's a moment in his life where he's had sort of a swinging doors moment. Thought, you know, that's it. Sort this out. Go and be the things that I'm asking to be, that I want to be, that where I see myself in the future for the football club. Maybe that was the day it started. Maybe that's the day we start to get back what we think we've got, and he starts to show us what he is.
Absolutely.
He avoided the post-match interviews, didn't he, as well? Because he got asked to every single one, basically, and he said no to all of them. But honestly, he just knew what was going to come. It would be a barrage of questions about his future. He just didn't want it. Yeah, absolutely. But honestly, I think he handled himself really, really well on that weekend. I really do.
I think the other thing for me to add on to what you guys are saying is, obviously he starts the full 90, or he's played 86 minutes, apologies, on the 5th of January against Manchester United. He then plays 30 and then 60 over the next 2 days. I think it's good management from Slot to give him a 90 minutes in that gap between the 5th and the 14th, but not overplay him as well. So yeah, I think that was just good management all round, and you know, we can be really happy with the performance that he put in, because last week I sat here and I was fuming in the aftermath of Manchester United about the performance. It would have been so easy for a player, and I've seen this down the years countless times, about fantastic footballers playing sides that they should beat and then not putting the effort in. To see him put the effort in against Accrington Stanley in the FA Cup third round addressed a lot of the criticisms that I sat here on last Monday and had.
Yeah, totally agree.
Cool. Let's move on then. Chloe. Endo at centre-back again. It was a bit of a surprise because we did all think that Konate was going to play, then doesn't make the bench. It seems now that everyone's cottoned on to the fact that he's played more games at centre-back than he has at DM, which we've known since we signed him, but now it has become common knowledge. He's a pretty good centre-back, really, isn't he? Yeah,
he's really, really good. Reads the game well, uses his body brilliantly. And yeah, he's just so calm. He threads balls through as well, which he was doing quite a bit when Trent inverted into the midfield. He's just boss. Like, you just absolutely love him. He gives you absolutely everything when he's on the pitch, when he's called upon. And Slot's comments, obviously, today in the presser, reflect all of that, and basically saying, Harvey I had to have a chat with because I want wants to be a 10 and I had to play him at right wing. And he's like, Endo, I didn't even have to have a convo with, because he just says, sure, sound, I'll give you everything and I'll play me part. And he really does. And actually, I thought he was decent against Spurs when he had to come on. Southampton, I thought he was brilliant. And then once again yesterday, I thought he was magnificent. In fact, I think I turned to you and went, he's been our best player. He wins so many duels in that area, reads the game well. And when I thought he didn't really have much pace, that's when he uses his body so well in defensive areas. So a brilliant performance from him, and he's just hard. It's hard not to love the lad.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? And I think he spoke after the game, Dan, and he said, I don't get frustrated or anything like that. I always try to get ready to help the team. Of course, I want to play every game, but we need everyone in the squad. The players who don't play constantly have played very well against Accrington, so that is the most important thing for the team to achieve something. We need everybody, so we need to get ready for every game that's coming. That is exactly what you want a squad player to come out and say after the game.
Yeah, he's the consummate professional, isn't he? We've done it again. We found another one who, again, is just willing to bide his time, wait his turn, and then when called upon, handled himself exquisitely. And I thought that was him in a nutshell, really, the weekend. And again, in any position you ask of him, he just does it for you. And he's a very vastly experienced footballer by this point, who's been there, seen it, done a lot of it, so shouldn't really shock us. But I'm forever surprised sort of how quick we are to write him off, and I've done it, I'm guilty of it myself. Certainly over the summer, it looked like his days might have been numbered, Liverpool Football Club, but absolutely none of it. And his ability to play in that different role could actually come in massively handy as sort of a byproduct of some of the injury problems we've got going on back there. I think Wataru Endo becomes invaluable to the squad, really. But really pleased for him once again. And again, just how unflustered and sort of how he's just gone about his business, kept himself to himself. And those comments you just reiterated there, he said that in sort of a numerous different ways all season long, really. And he's just, again, just waiting in the wings. When he's ready, he'll be called upon, he'll go and do a job for us. And I thought he was the best player on the pitch at the weekend, I really do. And again, in a very sort of disjointed, mismatched side, they haven't really played together a lot. He was a constant right in the middle of it, in the heart of everything, and got us playing when he needed to, comfortable in possession from his midfield exploit as well. So really, really impressive.
I think the other thing with him, Steve, is that it doesn't matter how little he's played, he seems to come in at a level. And do you think that's down to his experience, that he just knows how he should be playing? And some players take ages to get into it, don't they? But he doesn't.
And he knows what he's good at and what he's not good at. He doesn't try what he's not good at. I think Dan's point there is really interesting. Becomes invaluable. I think everyone around this table would, if we'd got 20 million for him in January, we might have said, okay, well, it's probably time. It isn't now, because he's given us that extra depth of variety for many different positions on the pitch. But seasoned, experienced footballers very quickly start to understand what they can and they can't do. And Chloe makes the point, he uses his body really well because he isn't blessed with pace. But if you can't run through a man, you can't get to the ball, can you? So it's really clever to see. And Minamino was the same in the sense that whenever you asked them to do something, he just did it, and then they were eloquent in front of the press afterwards. It's just different. They don't have massive self-expectations. So he might well be happy with his position in the club. You know, being a squad player, getting games here and there, because what is the other option? To go to another team, a lesser team, and be a bigger fish in a smaller pond, but not be in the running for winning trophies and medals. And at the end of it, when they all sit down and look at their careers, it's what's in the cabinet on the wall that decides whether you had a successful career or not. So often squad players are happier with their positions than we think they are.
Yeah, I think it's testament to how he trains that, to be honest, in terms of him being able to come in, plug and play, and just play immediately well. Because you're right, if you are on the periphery and very much on the fringes of matters as well, it would be easy to switch off a little bit, or maybe not put that extra yards in and training. I'm not suggesting anyone does this, by the way, but you just know Wataru Endo doesn't.
Well, yes,
you know he's at it.
Saturday's a perfect example of that, Dan, because in all likelihood, I think we all knew he wasn't starting.
Yes.
And then he does.
Exactly. And you get that performance from him. Again, man the match for a lot of people. So yeah, that again, 100%, because any situation, when he's called upon, when he's thrown in there, doesn't matter whether he's ready for it or not, because he's training at such a level day in, day out, and he's keeping himself ready at all times, he's able to go and produce that sort of performance.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk about him a little bit later in the transfer section of the show as well. I think it's quite an interesting story around him. But I want to talk about a couple of other players as well. And Chloe, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to give him his full title, Jaden motherfucking Downs.
Yeah, he is class. Yeah, look, he came on, and I'm really happy for him because of the injuries that he's been through. He's had to sit out for quite a while. There's always been speculation of he has to leave the club to go and get better opportunities to play more. And he comes on, he rocks up. He takes the absolute mick for his goal, by the way. He sets up Chiesa, who just decided he didn't want to score from inside the box because he could have had a hat-trick. And Jayden Danns just anticipates everything in the box, alive, on the front foot, and smells the danger, reads it, puts it in the back of the net. And look, a lot of players don't celebrate because it's Accrington Stanley. Jayden Danns most definitely celebrated, whether it was Accrington Stanley or not. He absolutely loved it. He deserved it. He brought so much energy into the game, and it's boss. It's great to see his interview after the game as well, where he was asked about Rio, and he just went, oh. And he didn't even have to say anything else. It's just great to see more young lads coming through, and hopefully he can stay fit. Liverpool have to make a decision on him, whether they want to loan him out or keep him because of obviously the Plymouth away tie. So it'll be interesting for him. But yeah, boss lad, mentality is brilliant as well, and he deserved his goal, and my word did he celebrate it.
Before Dan underlines it, Steve, what were your thoughts on Jayden Danns?
I've always thought he's infectious to watch, isn't he? He's got that natural predator about him. Yeah. Like Chloe said, he anticipates a lot of things and gets into really good positions. I don't think there's much sense in sending him elsewhere. I think we can't rely on, unfortunately, we can't rely on Jota's fitness. I mean, Nunez doesn't give us enough goals. So it is an alternative go-to. And for youthful enthusiasm alone, he will give you 110% whenever he comes on. Smart finish, Chloe says, great celebration. There's nothing not to like about the lad, and he's only going to get better. And I've said this a few times in previous shows, how up-and-coming players are bedded into the team. Like, bring him on when you're 3-0 up and let him get the fourth. You know, there's a player who plays for Man City, they did that with, and he's gone on to be, like, world-class. Why not? Why not do that with him? Send him off to somewhere, QPR, Leicester, wherever you want, wherever he might go. Not entirely sure that's the right thing to do with him, purely because up front we're a bit thin on the ground. We play Diaz there at times, it doesn't always work. We play Nunez there at times, it doesn't always work. Jota's not always fit, so there's always an opportunity after an hour when one of those is gassed. Why not bring him on? So, you know, for me, he stays and he learns his trade at the club.
Absolutely. I think with Dan, Chloe, we were all in the ground, and I can't help my mind wanders during the game when Jayden Danns scores, and I'm thinking about Darwin Nunez, and you shouldn't be thinking about Darwin Nunez when Jayden Danns scores a goal, but did you find yourself thinking about Darwin Nunez when Dan scored?
I was thinking more about the Harry Kane comparisons, to be honest with you. I'm forever impressed with Jayden Danns whenever I see him play football, whatever level it is, to be honest with you. And he does have, as the guys have just alluded to there, he does have that natural ability to be in the right place at the right time, and that goal was a perfect example of it, because you're right, it could have easily been Darwin Nunez and maybe having a different conversation if he puts it in the back of the net, but
Darwin's
it's Jayden
got the
Danns.
ability to be in the right place at the right time.
It just so happens it's Jayden Danns, and maybe there's something in that, you know what I mean? But he actually starts the move as well. He comes deep, gets us playing, and he follows it up basically. And again, he's Johnny on the spot. He is the one putting the back of the net. So he's just. I put out from our Instagram when I sort of tweeted the goal out and just said, just scores goals. And he's just done that from the minute he started playing for the 18s. Like, he arrived on the scene early last season, scored so many goals, and then went up to 21s and continued on that same path. He just has this knack, and it's a proper handy knack. If you're a centre forward, let's have it right. And his all-round play is really impressive too. He doesn't really lack anything that you'd want from your centre forward. He's big enough, he's physical enough, he can handle himself, which is why the loan interest has come, because Championship clubs know he's got all of the things that we're talking about here, and they know he's going to be able to deal with centre halves and the rigours of what that looks like. So yeah, he is properly impressive, and I'm so delighted for him that he just keeps scoring. And that's 2 FA Cup appearances, 3 goals now at Anfield. Like, it's properly impressive. And as for the Nunez stuff, it's another one of them performances, isn't it? If you look at the two of them in terms of what they're able to do and the actual sort of tangible impact they had on the game, I know Darwin gets the assist for Diogo.
Great assist as well.
Was a great assist, yeah. But Jayden Danns comes out of it smelling better, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Daniel Stevens sort of gets exactly what I meant by Darwin has the ability to be in the right place at the right time, when he says Darwin has the ability to be in the right place at the right time and then hit the post or sky it into the car park.
He misses a big chance first half, doesn't he? Which is not dissimilar to the one Jayden puts away.
Yeah, Michael Dunn says, I absolutely wondered if Nunez would have skied it. And it's harsh, and it shouldn't be that you compare one to the other, but we're humans at the end of the day, aren't we? And
it's not harsh.
You don't think it's harsh?
No. You buy a centre forward and he's judged on how many goals he scores, and we don't get enough goals from him. And
it's it's 37 and 122 appearances for
so one every four, approximately one every four, which is not good enough for a team that wants
approximately 1 in 3,
3.6 or something, whatever it is. It's not enough for if you want to go and win titles. If he was your only option up front, we would be struggling. It's just we signed him as a left winger from the side we bought him from, and he came to Anfield and had us on the back foot for the whole game, playing off the left. We then decided to try him through the middle, and I've said this time and time again, he lacks the footballing IQ to be a centre forward. He can't lead the line, and we shouldn't be singing his name because he blocks the goalkeeper clearing the ball that goes in the crowd for a goal kick. We should be singing his name because he's scoring goals and propelling you to titles and trophies. And he might go somewhere else in Europe and play in a different league with a different pace, a different setup, and be a superstar. I'd pretty much be sure if someone signed him, they don't play him as a centre forward. They'll put him back in the position he came through footballing as a kid, where he's comfortable, which is off the left-hand side. So I think it's not wrong to make that assumption. It's not wrong to have those thoughts about him. He quite simply doesn't score. And one of our greatest goal scorers ever this week, Robbie Fowler, has come out and said, this isn't working. And he's right. It's not working. He's enthusiastic, and Liverpool fans were warm to enthusiastic players who work hard for the cause and put a shift in, and that's great, and they should do that, and we should all applaud that. But ultimately, as a centre forward, you look back through history and talk about all of our great centre forwards, we talk about them because of the goals they score, not because of how hard they worked. Dean Saunders worked really hard, couldn't play with his back to goal, cost him play for Liverpool for 1 year, and he was moved out because it wasn't working. But the lad could score. Scored 4 goals on his European debut, but the fact of the matter is he couldn't do what the team wanted him to do, and we're not seeing that from Darwin. So I don't think it is harsh. You can't wait 3 years for a player to explode, Chris. You can't do it.
Okay, sounds. Chloe, Federico Chiesa. It really felt to me like it was the game that I was waiting for from him, to be honest. But I don't think everybody was in the same boat. Like, it is a player that I've absolutely adored for years. I think a lot of people have admired Chiesa from afar. And, did you get the impression that there's more to come, or how were you feeling about his performance at the weekend?
He gets in dangerous positions. He gets in goal-scoring positions. He doesn't like to hit the ball first time. That is what I've learned. He enjoys to take an extra touch, make the angle a little bit worse for him. And, like I said, he could have had a hat-trick. He was getting frustrated with himself, and that's probably why he decided to hit it outside the area instead of, just keeping the ball and passing it to someone else. When he came on, I was happy to see him. These are the games that sadly, he is going to be used in because of the fact that he's not being ready and available for us to see the star quality in him. And he had some good moments. And then obviously he's very involved in terms of how many opportunities he has. They're all close on that right-hand side in the box. He can use both feet. I still wanted more from him, in the aspect of I wanted to see a little bit more quality with him at the ball on his feet, driving at players, taking them on. But the one where Jayden Dan scores, he makes a brilliant run there. It's just the finish that he's lacked. His actual goal is boss. As soon as it left his foot, I knew it was in the back of the net from where I was sat. And I'm really happy for him because hopefully that kickstarts his Liverpool career. We can forget about what's happened. You've got a massive half a season to go. Liverpool are in a title race. Go and make sure that you can be that extra man that we all thought we could lean on when we've got to take one of our front three off, or when something's not working, because he can play up front as a number 9. And look, we've mentioned Darwin Nunez there, we've mentioned Diogo Jota not being available. Luis Diaz sometimes plays there, does well, sometimes can be phased out because you're missing, a big physical presence. Maybe Chiesa can offer something different. So I think he has a big role to play. It's just, can he stay fit? Can he use this momentum? And look, all the rumours around him about wanting to leave or going back to Italy or whatever, well, you saw that that's not the case because of the way the team responded to him scoring. Everyone was just absolutely made up for the lad. So hopefully, I saw some nice moments, but I have seen nice moments. Southampton, that touch, that Meg, see you later. Like, we know the player he is. It's just being able to see it consistently. And hopefully that little goal can make him relax and he can now kick on.
Yeah, and I think that's it, isn't it? I think obviously when you sign a player, you don't sign them for 6 months, you don't sign them for a year. We definitely know that Liverpool don't do that. You sign them for the course of their contract. That's the ideal scenario here. That's why you give someone a 3, 4, 5 year deal so they play for those in the entirety of it. And I think Liverpool have shown a real confidence maybe in the signing so far, in that they're not willing to risk the long-term future of Chiesa for the short term. And I hope that's the case. And, the rumours of him being unhappy and not liking the weather and all that type of stuff, they'll be what they'll be, and that's down to the player. But either way, I think Liverpool have taken a long-term view, and I don't think that changes.
No, neither do I, no. And Liverpool have been very patient with him as well, because you alluded to it there. It would have been easy for us to maybe rush him back, and we had to give him sort of a mini pre-season when the season was well underway. And that tells you exactly what Liverpool think of him and what Liverpool want from him, and the fact that Liverpool do have sort of hopes and aspirations that he can come good. And I think this is time now, personally, because as a fan base, we have been maybe quick to just dismiss him and say, compare him to Aquilani and Artemello and other signings that have gone before that just haven't worked for a variety of reasons, usually fitness related, of course. But no, Liverpool have been very patient, and we bided our time. I was shocked he didn't start the weekend. It was great to see him get 45 minutes. He was very impressive. Unlucky when he hit the post. Left the keeper for dead at that point. I think the manager said something
about that as well, didn't he? He came out and said that he would have started.
He was ill, wasn't he, again? In the week. Still, not shy of an illness, is he? No, but yeah, ultimately,
I think we've all been like that the last 4 weeks or something.
Ultimately, I just hope that is, you can draw the line in the sand now and say you've got your goal, you're off and running in Liverpool shirt. Now is the time where we're going to need you most of all, probably, to step up and be that guy, be that extra forward. Because again, 27 years of age, season campaigner, done a lot for Italy, won the Euros, big parts to why Italy won the Euros. So we should be able to call upon him, maybe not reliant upon him, but we should certainly be able to call on him and say, right, your time now, do a job for us, give Salah a break, give whoever else a break, and that's what he can be. And that's why we bought him, ultimately. So Liverpool, the opportunistic signing, and that signing that we've sort of seen as a bit of a free hit, hasn't really come home to roost yet, but it could come to fruition between now and the end of the season.
Absolutely. I mean, I must admit, right, from 65 minutes to 75 minutes in the game, I stopped watching the football and I watched Chiesa. Just Chiesa, because I love doing that when you're in the ground and seeing who they are as a player for what they're doing off the ball, right? And I don't know whether anybody else did this or noticed this when they were looking around, but this is a guy that wants the football as much as Mo Salah. He constantly is telling players who are even the other side of the pitch, knock the ball over the top for me. He's there all the time. When he's next playing, have a watch, right? You'll have Costas with the ball and he's going
once again
like
behind,
that, right? And he's stood there and he's pointing at his feet. Anyone who's near him who's got the ball, he's like, give me some of my feet. And they ignored him loads of times. It dawned on me then, this is a player that is used to being a big fish in whatever fucking size pond he wants, quite frankly, because Juve's a big bloody club, isn't it? And this is a guy who's used to the team going through him. And it might take a little period of adaptation for him to get used to. Liverpool have got so many weapons and was such a good side that it's going to take time to find you and stuff. But he never shied away from a pass and wasn't used loads. And the fact of the matter is, I actually think he was brilliant. I thought he was absolutely superb. The willingness to go at his man, the ability to find space inside the penalty area, get those shots off. Clearly, he's not a striker. You don't expect him to score 4 from 4 in there. But 1 from 4 is great for a winger. 1 from 4 Salah sort of levels, isn't it? This is the type of stuff that we're used to seeing. Now, currently, yes, you can talk about the opposition and everything, and that needs to be taken into consideration. He's played 1.990s and he's got a goal and assist for us. Like, that's all right. That's a good little start, you know, once he's starting getting into the team and stuff. So for me, I'm just looking forward to seeing what the future holds for him. And hopefully it is in a red shirt, because this guy, as we've all said in the summer and at the start of the season, could really take us, our squad, to the next level.
Yeah, obviously coming back from serious injuries takes its toll on anybody, and you do wonder whether players can recover that. But everyone's alluded to the fact that in an Italy shirt, he single-handedly won him the Euros. He was sensational throughout that tournament, and clubs were knocking on the door, testing resolve of the clubs he was at, and they were asking for 100 million quid. There's no risk in what we spent for him. There really isn't. You know, look at the money, your loan fees you pay for people. It's akin to that, really, isn't it? So, yeah, I'd like to see him continue to develop. Technically, he might be better than most of our squad. Technically, when you think about what he's achieved and watched him in years gone by, technical ability wise, and that lends itself to this demand to have the ball, this confidence to get into positions where he can receive the ball and then do what he does. And hopefully he'll continue to get fitter, to get stronger, to improve, get off the illnesses and get himself available every week, and add a little bit, because we've seen throughout title races, throughout the years, throughout the decades, that you need someone who's going to come in and give you that little lift when you don't have it, and he's ideal for that. He could just be the guy that comes in, ends up playing a dozen games in the back half of the season and scores 4 goals, pivotal goals throughout the season. He's got the ability, he's got the self-belief. It's about getting him physically strong enough and up to the rigours of the Premier League, which clearly so far has been a problem.
And the confidence as well, isn't it? I think you mentioned it, Chloe, you know, that he's got belief in himself, but he's clearly not firing on all cylinders, and you know that can take a little bit of time. Obviously, getting used to it, more goals, more confidence, a better run in the side, feeling like he belongs as part of it. I mean, I go back to the sort of 10 minutes where I think it ended. Actually, I stopped watching him after Jayden Nance scored quite as intently. But in that time, like he was doing the smart things, like, you know, like that, like let's say Trent had the ball in right back or whatever. In fact, Trent will have gone off at this point. Let's say it was Conor Bradley or something, and he's given that, like, I'm going to come back to you, and the defender runs with him, and he turns and goes over the top, and then you'll see him do that twice, and then he'll go back and actually receive the ball, and the defender doesn't know what to do in terms of to go with him, to stand off him and all that type of stuff. So really smart footballer. Obviously the confidence is going to be key now, and the fitness is probably where we're at more than anything, Chloe. We just need to see that we're able to get a return on our investment, even though it was low.
Yeah, and look, he is adored. He has a song, and not many players have that. So he's got the backing of the fan base. We've all been patient as well. We've all been so eager and excited to see him, and that's because we all think so highly of him as a player. We think he's exciting. We know he has the ability. We've seen how good he's been in the past, and hopefully if he can just stay fit, he can have moments. I mean, you'd love to be able to take Mo Salah off with, I mean, he wouldn't love it, but we'd love it with 20 to go. If a game was done and dusted, you bring on Chiesa, or, you know, you had to reshuffle the pack in any way, because we are now very reliant on Diaz, Gakpo and Mo Salah. So he can just be another player with 20 to go. You go, have some pace on the pitch. Chiesa's going to offer something so different to Mo Salah, but still have a lot of quality. And yeah, like you said there, he's really, really good. And he's got the self-belief. It's just, he was fuming at himself.
Frustration, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was fuming at himself. There was one...
when he hit the post, he couldn't believe it, could he?
No.
He did everything right at that point, to be fair.
Yeah, there was another one on the right-hand side, and I think the keeper makes a save, and if he hits it first time and he goes across goal, he's got the quality to put it in the back of the net. Takes the extra touch, the keeper comes out, and it's like the side post, the netting, and he's fuming at himself, like you can see it in front of you. And then 2 minutes later, he's just quite frankly had enough and decides to hit one, because the space is there. Like, you can see it go. I literally said, go on, lads, because I knew it was going to happen, because he'd had that many opportunities so close and in the area that he'd just not been able to put away. And it was a great goal. So yeah, hopefully we can see more of him, because we all want to see more of him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And Dan, I know you touched on the subject of Rio earlier on. Yeah. I looked at some of the stats and stuff after the game and all that type of stuff, but it was a real eyeball test game for me. And Steve mentioned it, just so good on the ball. And I spoke to you, I think it was Friday maybe or something, like what can I expect? And you were like, he's dribbling.
Yeah.
I think you said he's probably not the fastest, but his dribbling's absolutely sensational. And I went in there and I saw exactly that.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, isn't it? Because a lot of people have made the comparison to sort of Ben Doak and a lot of the excitement around him maybe 18, 24 months ago, whatever. He's just different to Ben. Ben is explosive pace, and he will just beat people for pace time and time again and make them look stupid. Rio's feet, and he's dazzling feet, and he's don't watch my feet because they'll be gone. And he does make defenders look daft time and time again. And what I was so pleased about, I suggested it, hinted at it earlier on, is that I was not concerned, but you do wonder when somebody makes a step up. By the way, he's completely skipped under 21's footy at this point. Like, he's gone from under 18s to first team football at Anfield, like remarkable, which tells you just how high Liverpool think of him. I just want to see him do all the things that he does and just back himself. We speak about Chiesa having belief, and he did that, in bucket loads, because every time he got the ball, his first thought was, who can I beat? Who can I take on? How can I create a dangerous situation for this team? And he did it more often than not. And so much so that, I must admit, again, I've watched a lot of him, the early performances of him, like the first literally 2 or 3, he was running down sort of blind alleys a little bit, and then he would get sort of outnumbered, he'd lose the ball, and then he'd have to sort of get back into position. He was almost getting frustrated with himself, but you can see already, and I spoke to Mark Wilkinson about this, the under-18s manager, after about 4 or 5 games, and you can already see him learning the fact that once he's beat someone, or once he's got into space, having sort of dragged a couple of men over, because that's what people do, people double up on him. You've seen him at the weekend, Accrington Stanley, senior defenders were going, we need to make sure we've got bodies over there, because if not, he's going to beat the fullback time and time again, and he's going to be in the box time and time again. So
Sorry,
once
does he normally play on the left?
Yeah, always, yeah. He's always over on the left, yeah. Once he's attracted that attention, that's the point then where he does need to lend it to a teammate. And he did that really well. Actually sort of created Trent's goal in a way, because he ends up having a shot in this instance, but there's 2 or 3 men near him, and it falls to Dom, who then gives it to Trent, who's got loads of space to score. So, yeah, he is something. He's really special. He's a proper talent. Liverpool did very well in getting him from Chelsea. And I mentioned this on the Umbu last week when I sort of suggested that he could be involved in some capacity. Didn't for 1 single minute think he'd start the game, by the way. But this is another example of Liverpool, recruiting really well from different academies around the country, which is brilliant. We've made some really good signings and really good acquisitions by doing that. But by giving him that debut, I'm not suggesting this is the only reason we did it, because we did it because we think very, very highly of him. But if Liverpool are going to go out into the market and do similar with other players, you can literally point to Rio making his debut at Anfield in the FA Cup and going, that could be you. That could be you in 12 months, 18 months' time. So really smart, but back on the player, just sensational, and so pleased for him.
Absolutely. We're going to talk about the goals then. What was your favourite, Steve?
I think Chiesa's. I like the way like Chloe makes the point, takes it early for once. Just drifts it round the outside of the keeper's reach into the far corner, and for what it means for him and the way that the players celebrated with him. Yeah. Both everybody's alluded to the fact that that's not a player that's alone at the football club. His teammates are with him. Those things only make you feel better about yourself, make you want to turn up next week. I've said before that when you're winning games, players don't remember that little niggle they've got. They go out and get involved because they want to be involved in something that's going in the right direction. So maybe that's a little bit of change in his psyche. So for me, for those reasons, that'd probably be my pick.
Well, what's next for Chiesa? What are you looking for him in the next couple of weeks?
For Arne Slot not to say in an interview he's not available this week because he's sick. You know what I mean? Just be available.
No, you might be in squads and be available. Because confidence is a big thing, and he's got that under his belt now.
100%. And we will need to be clever with minutes, and he can go right across that front 3. So when it's not working for Diaz, when we play Diaz instead of Nunez, because we don't want to play a static centre forward up against a static centre back, and we want runs from deep, he's got the intelligence to do that. He's technically better than Diaz, I'd argue. All told, so potentially, I just like to see him be involved, and then who knows what you can accomplish if we win the league and he's contributed towards it. Then that bodes well for next season. If he doesn't play a part in it and we win the league, that doesn't bode so well for next season. So there is a player, absolutely there is a player, and we have to find a way to maximise and get everything that we can out of him. And I think that is a real positive step in the right direction.
Chloe, what about you? What's your favourite goal?
Jota's. I think we spoke at the start of the season how, opposition's corners actually are a chance for us. And I feel like we've wasted quite a lot of chances on counter-attacks in the last, however many weeks. It feels like we've had loads of opportunities from them and we've just picked the wrong pass, or, we've not, the final ball's just not been there, or no one's been on the end of that final ball. And I just think it was brilliant. Dom into Trent, into Nunez, and the ball by Nunez is brilliant. Absolutely outrageous. And Jota's there to finish it off. So just back to front within, that many seconds. And that was when Accrington Stanley actually were countering us back and having a few little moments where they just lack quality in the final third. And then Liverpool just go up the other end from their corner and do that.
Absolutely. Dan?
Yeah, mad answer really, because the execution that counts was brilliant. The Trent strike is right at the top drawer, and as is Chiesa's, but mine's Jayden Dan's. No surprise to most people that know me or have ever seen me talk, but made up for him, absolutely made up for him. I think it's a really proper natural striker's goal to score as well. Just again, right place, right time, first time finish, doesn't hesitate, back of the net, off we go on a big knee slide.
But the pass to Chiesa was inch perfect.
Yep.
And again, it comes back to my point earlier on, like he's a very accomplished all-round footballer, not just a fox in the box type centre forward who's going to get on the end of stuff. He's got that, but he can play a little bit as well. And Chloe mentioned earlier on the fact he's come back from injuries and we get a 5-6 months all told after what was a bit of a breakthrough season last year for him as well. And I was excited about the prospect of him getting a pre-season, getting in front of Arne Slot. What does that look like? How high up the pecking order is he going to be in the plans? So to then miss a lot through injury, and then I spoke to him a week or so before he was meant to be back. Then he had a setback, and it was like, oh God, this is a real nightmare now. So delighted to see him back up and running, and even more delighted to see him scoring in that vein at the weekend.
I loved his interview after the game as well, because it was like they were trying to get a line from him about like maybe Nunez or something. They kept saying to him, are you not like frustrated at the fact that you're not getting more chances here? And his answer was, I'm 18, lads. Yeah. Like, I think I know where I'm at in life.
Yeah,
and he just basically put it down and was like, I'm 18. I'm thankful for every opportunity I've been given. I've been given an opportunity by Arne Slot to even have some contribution in this game, and I'm extremely thankful for it. I'll continue to work hard and see what I can do. But the reporter was trying to put it on as if like, there's players here who might actually not have as much of an impact as you're doing here. You've got 3 goals in 2 FA Cup games. Yeah, one of them was last season, but he just decided to focus on himself, clear the rubbish away, and said, I'm thankful for everything, but I need to carry on going.
I asked the question about Chiesa to see about what we can expect from him in the next few weeks. Maybe I'll extend that to the end of the season, right? Because I must admit, there's a part of me that thinks, do you know what, maybe we should loan him out, get him that experience, let him work on his craft a little bit more. And there's a part of me, and it's a much bigger part of me, that goes, if you've got injuries and you're fighting for a title, having a lad who can come in and score goals is invaluable. Yeah. And I think I would keep him around.
I'd keep him.
And that might, unfortunately for him, diminish his opportunities this season if everything goes well with our strikers. But it's a selfish, you're sticking around because we believe in you. Does that make sense?
But you're also breeding and nurturing a player that knows what it's like to be around winners. So at some point in the future, you'd hope that he plays a lot more, and he'd hope that he plays a lot more. Send him to Crystal Palace, whatever, QPR, wherever you want to send him to, and we win the title.
Any team below Everton.
And he's,
loving QPR.
If you go to send him to anyone below Everton.
But the point being, it'd be nice for him to be around and understand what it's like to win. At 18, to have to be around a squad that goes on and wins a trophy, irrespective of what it is. I'm not going to be bold enough to say how many we get, if we get any. You know what I mean? It's nice for a lad to be involved in that, to be sort of camped out in digs somewhere in London on a loan and watching your parent club go on and win things. It's not counterproductive, but I'm not sure it's the right thing for a lad at that stage in his career.
For me, I just think from a Liverpool perspective, you don't make any more problems for yourselves. You're in a title race, and that is the most important thing. Jayden Dan's absolutely love you, and I believe in you. But sadly, Liverpool comes first in this scenario, and that means that we are being selfish, we are keeping you. You are playing that Plymouth game, and that might be the only game that you play. But if it means that we can rest our other strikers and potentially go on and win a league title, then that's what I'm doing, because you don't want to make any errors for yourself in this. You've gave yourself a great position halfway through the season. Don't just keep everyone at this point.
Yeah, I'm really torn on this, properly conflicted on it, because a lot of me wants to see him play football and play first team football at that, and score goals and continue to learn and develop and to get used to what it's like to play men's football week in, week out. Because I think we've got a real talent in our hands, and one that I'm not in a rush to see sort of be a main guy at Liverpool. I'm really not, but one that I believe could become that. And one that I want to see. I think first team football on loan helps, is what I'm trying to say, basically. Certainly for somebody of his position and of his sort of size, frame, physique. I don't think it is right for everyone actually a loan move, but I think for someone like him, it would actually benefit him. However, when it comes to the end of this season, everything the guy said in terms of Liverpool's objectives, aims and priorities is absolutely spot on, and Dan's could go some way to helping along with that. But I don't envisage that personally. Where I fall down on terms of keeping him would actually be more protecting him in terms of the injuries and the fact that Liverpool aren't going to want to sort of take an eye off him and not have him under their watch, because he's had back problems. He had a setback when it comes to back problems as well. So Liverpool are very careful when it comes to where the lads go on loan, and they wrap them up in cotton wool if they can possibly help it. So that'd be where I think Liverpool would put up a guard and say, no, he's going to stick around with us. We're going to make sure nothing else goes wrong between now and the end of the season, and then we'll address it in the summer and see what that looks like and how the land lies there. But yeah, if you ask me for a hard and fast answer, I'd be inclined to let him go out on loan personally and let him learn his craft a little bit more, probably in the Championship, go and get some goals, go and get some proper first team minutes, because again, I made the point earlier on, he played a lot of under-21s footy last year as an 18-year-old, still wet behind the ears, 18-year-old as well, and looked a cut above it, looked physically a cut above it, scored a lot of goals in it, playing above his years already. And I fear that if he is over everything and he is perfectly fine and he is ready to go, I fear that only playing youth football between now and the end of the season won't be enough for him in a way. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
You fear a plateau?
No, so yeah, listen, it's going to be a 5-month plateau at that, and he's still going to be training with the first team a lot, and he'll still be around some high quality players, and Liverpool will ensure that he continues to tick along. However, I think if you do get him a good Championship loan, I think you could see his trajectory go up a notch or two, because in a way we're sort of 6 months stalled on his development because of the injury stuff, which again might mean Liverpool are desperate to keep hold of him and make sure everything goes right between now and the end of the season. So I get that. But in terms of fast tracking and hitting the fast forward button a little bit on Jayden Danns, I don't think you do that by giving him one FA Cup game. And I take your point entirely, by the way. I don't think you do that with him then. I think if you get him 15 to 20 games in the Championship between now and the end of the season, because he played a lot of footy down there, I think you could then have a guy who's got 8, 9, 10 goals under his belt in senior footy coming back next summer for pre-season. Different story.
So what you're saying though is it's got to be the right move for you.
100%, yeah.
And they've got to respect the injuries that he's had in the past.
Yeah, and Liverpool have garnered and built very good relationships with a lot of clubs down the years. We have been very smart with where we've loaned to. So you could return to one of them. Blackburn is in forefront of my mind, and you could say, listen, you've looked after Harvey Elliott, Tyler Morton really, really well. Do the same with Jayden Danns for us. I'm not suggesting there's a fit there, by the way. I'm just using them as an example. You need to do the same with Jayden Danns, because we've got really high hopes for this young lad, and we think he could well be in the conversation for us next summer. Again, I just fear, and there's nothing wrong with playing under 21s footy, of course, and Premier League 2 is a very good level, but I just feel like, and every time you watch him play, he played League 2 opposition on the weekend. You know, he's not going to go to League 2, with all due respect. He scores, and he looks more than ready to handle himself at that level against big senior centre-halves who've been around for a long time, played a lot of footy, racked up a lot of senior appearances. Jayden Danns hasn't done any of them things, and yet still is more than comfortable in that environment. I just think, again, you could get a real jump start on Jayden Danns by getting him a good amount of footy between now and the end of the season, and I'm not sure he gets it at Liverpool unless it looks like under 21s.
Okay. Let's look at the fourth round draw in its entirety then. Liverpool obviously away at Plymouth. Saw someone asking on Twitter whether they accept the Euros. It's that far away, which I thought was quite amusing. Manchester United, Leicester, Brighton, Chelsea is a good little game there, isn't it? Aston Villa, Tottenham Hotspur. Other than that, I mean, it's only really the absence of Arsenal which is making me excited. It was a little bit disappointing, Steve, to not see any... Well, actually, no. There was an upset. Manchester United beating Arsenal was a bit of an upset. But no real upset. Are we getting to that era, or are we already in that era where the gulf in money is just too much for a lot of these clubs to overcome?
Yeah, we are. The distance between the echelons within the Premier League themselves are too big. So you've got like 4 or 5 who are miles ahead of everybody else. Then you've got a little clutch in the middle, and then you've got the rest who sort of include Everton and Wolves and teams like that.
Fart around season by season.
Yeah, and you wonder where their marginal gains are and what they set out to do at the start of each season, and Premier League survival being the most important thing. And then there's a drop off, and you see it every time someone gets... Luton is the best example. Couldn't quite believe their luck. They got momentum behind them, they got on the crest of the wave, they ended up in the Premier League. They might play Division 1 football next year, and the manager's gone. So it can come apart that quickly. They weren't ready to be in the Premier League. It was great while they did it. It's probably done them more damage than good for the bigger picture. So the chances of smaller teams getting upsets against bigger teams, the gulf is just huge. It's worlds and worlds apart. You made the point, Jayden Danns, how many senior games has he played? And he's given lads who played 400 or 500 games between them a real good game. So the difference is they just cherry pick the best ones, don't they? And the ones that they can't pick, they go and buy them anyway. So I think the gulf's too big.
And of course, the other thing is, I don't think the extra time stuff really helps a cup upset. I saw it mentions on like the overlap and stuff, Chloe, where you see Tottenham, Tamworth, and goes to extra time, but these lads just aren't anywhere near as fit as Tottenham's players because they just don't have the ability to get them as fit, do they?
No, and look, a lot of people have been moaning about the one tie, the one leg in that, and I think the one leg's fine because I think you're more likely to have a miracle over one leg than 2 legs, personally. To have to go up against any Premier League side over 2 legs, would be really, really difficult to beat them. So I get that point. The extra time, yeah. I mean, when you're down there, you'd rather just go straight to penalties, have it be a lottery.
It'd be more fun for everybody.
It would be.
Yeah, extra time.
But that's what it is. Spurs came out and scored 3 goals in extra time. Game was done. And Tamworth really could have won it in 90, but they didn't. It's unfair, but it is what it is. We've all dealt with extra time. It's the rules. It's
the money, isn't it, that Tamworth have missed out on, that sort of sticks in the core a little bit with them, because I think Kieran Maguire tweeted immediately as it went to extra time, like, they are now something like just shy of $1 million short on what they would have earned from this cup tie had they gone to Spurs Stadium as a result of a replay. So that's where people get angsty about it and see
I
their
get
arse.
it, but I still stand by the fact that I think they'd have a better chance of winning the tie overall in one leg.
But these aren't... I'm not sure Tamworth are that bothered about winning the tie. Listen, that's a silly thing to say in many ways, but they're not going to win the FA Cup.
It's not. It's about
financial security.
There you go. It sets you up for the next 5 seasons, doesn't it?
I'm not particularly fussed either way whether Tamworth do well or not.
Premier League side in the next round.
Yeah, of course they could. Yeah, absolutely. But again, the financial returns is where they're at with it, really. And once it went to extra time, the bank was on the wall, wasn't it? Let's be honest. They're talking about scrapping extra time now as well, aren't they? Which I've seen, which is interesting. Immediately after there's a couple of games of extra time, suddenly that's on the table. So, yeah, it's...
But it used to happen whereby teams used to say to the bigger club, "Do you want to do it at your ground?" That used to happen a lot more than... I don't even know if it does happen anymore.
It's something that should be considered. If you look at Tamworth, they'd have been sorted for years, wouldn't they? Clubs used to say, "Tell you what, you have all the gate receipts or you have all the TV money."
I think Spurs did that with Marine.
I think that's really important.
That is what you should do, really.
That's how you deal with the pyramid, isn't it?
Yeah. But listen, Tamworth, to their credit, and again, I'm not one for giving them credit, they could have won it, and it was a side made up of lads that have jobs. Credit to them for doing what they do, but whatever. I'm not in love with them as a football club, to be honest. So.
Okay.
Be them.
We'll talk about Plymouth closer to it, of course. We'll get into the transfer rumours next, but before we do, we're going to have a very short break.
Hello there, just want to tell you what you could win if you were in our Club Legend prize draw for January. This is a biggie. We're starting the new year off with a bang. It's this, a signed Liverpool shirt signed by Ian Callaghan, proper Liverpool royalty, the record appearance maker for the Reds. 857 appearances he made. Not all in this shirt, you'll be glad to know, but if you want to get yourself a chance of winning this, head to redmenplus.com, sign up as a club legend or upgrade your existing subscription and you might just be the lucky winner.
2 fights to go. Hello and welcome back. We're going to talk about the transfer rumours and stuff like that now. We're going to start with Kvaratskhelia.
Yeah, go on. Nailed it, yeah.
Did I? Kvaratskhelia. You know who I'm talking about right now. Anyway, Ste, the Mirror reported yesterday that the Reds have contacted the agents of him, but it looks likely, I suppose, to everybody on the outside that he's probably more likely to end up somewhere other than Liverpool Football Club.
Yeah, it seems to be growing feeling it's going to be PSG, doesn't there? They'll throw the kitchen sink at it in order to get him. Where would we have played him? He's a predominantly left-sided player. Can play in the 10. Players. Yeah, we do, yeah. Can play in the 10, but for what we need right now, I don't know whether it's money well spent. There's other areas of the team that we've got 3 or 4 lads who can play out there. We don't need another one, do we? It's getting very...
Wouldn't mind it, though, I won't lie.
No, of course.
He's a great player. But
I like having nice things. So.
It's like Bayern Munich-esque, isn't it, to store all the wide players in Europe.
It does kind of football. Prove the point, though, that like left-sided forwards, right-footers, are much more prominent than what we've got in Mo Salah. Yeah, that is such a rare commodity in football, and it's probably why we've never truly addressed the backup to Mo, is that there's so few and far between. Like, how many world-class left-wing or right-wing forwards are left-footed? There's just not many.
No. Hardly any. I can't.
So you just keep buying lefties, and keep playing Mo on the other side instead.
The stockpile on the other side, to address it. No, there aren't many. And I was thinking now as you were talking, there aren't. World class is the key point to that, because there's a lot knocking around. Like Jared Bowen would have been that conversation, not a world class conversation, but in terms of the role and the ability to do it. Bakayoko's an up and comer, isn't he, young lad over there? But no, there aren't any that spring to mind. Short of Mo Salah and previously Arjen Robben.
A young man at Barcelona, maybe.
Yeah, of course, yeah, but you're just never gonna in a million years, are you? You know what I mean?
That's how few and far between. One's fucking 32, and one's, is he 17?
17, yeah, and probably got £1 billion release clause on his head somewhere. So yeah, it's a non-starter. Listen, the Kvaratskhelia stuff. I was with you, Steve, initially, in terms of like, that doesn't make any sense because he plays left wing all the time, and then you start thinking about it and you watch him and go, yeah, but still, he's really good, so I wouldn't mind.
It's not my money.
It makes no sense. We spoke a lot about Chiesa before, maybe him sticking around or not sticking around, what happens there. I actually think there was a world wherein you do sign Kvaratskhelia and let Chiesa go the other way and spend the rest of the season alone at Napoli, potentially, because you definitely wouldn't need them both sticking around the club, because Kvaratskhelia can play across the front line a little bit. You have seen Diaz move centrally a hell of a lot more this season, so we are somewhat shorter on the left side when it is just predominantly Gakpo. We've seen Jota do it a hell of a lot. Jota's become more of a 10 than he has a potential left winger recently. Obviously, Darwin Nunez has hardly ever done it. You know, he's Jaden Dansman out there recently instead of Nunez, I think I'm right in saying. So, yeah, under Slot is a slightly different makeup on that side. And again, Kvaratskhelia is an excellent footballer. It would have been in keeping with the opportunistic signing model that Liverpool have adopted, because I think it's like 65 million they're talking about to PSG. Like, for him, for a player with that ability.
Euros as well.
Yeah, 23 years old, like very, very high ceiling. I think you could have, carried the weight of the extra forward for 6 months and addressed it in the summer and maybe rejigged what you do in that attacking department. But it looks like he's off somewhere else now, which is a shame, because I do think he is of the quality and of the calibre where you do just swallow it a bit and go, not perfect, not great timing, but we really like you. We've liked you for 18 months, so go on then.
Yeah.
It's fair. Absolutely brilliant player. Could probably do you a job in the 10 as well, but what does a 10 look like for us at the moment? It's difficult, isn't it? It's just, I know we push we push Szoboszlai up into those roles as well, don't we, at times? But it would have been opportunistic, and it's still a lot of money, and it's not really in keeping with. If he's a genuine target, it's like with Diaz, we did it early because someone else was going to get him, and it appears someone else is going to get him, and we've not moved. So
the reporting of it was interesting, though, wasn't it? Because obviously David Ornstein, who has no skin in the game really, and relies heavily upon his reputation. So he is not, I'm not suggesting any journalist would, but he's not the one just to put it out there for the sake of it. Like, Liverpool have clearly spoken to him or briefed him and said there is an interest there, there is an intrigue there, most definitely. And you're right in terms of bringing up the Diaz one. The Diaz and the Gakpo one both fall into a very similar category. A player that we've admired and had on our radar that suddenly looks destined for somewhere else. The Kvaratskhelia one makes less sense because, again, there's less of a demand there. But with Diaz, we just shifted Mane, didn't we, for a little bit? And then he became the left winger and helped carry us to a lot of potential glory that season. So if Kvaratskhelia could come in and do a similar sort of job and sort of start us once again, then all for it. If he's the difference, I said it on the show last week, if he's the difference between what we can and don't do this season, then why not? And you're right, 65 million is a lot of money, but for me, he's more like an 80+ million pound footballer, and I think that would be a bit of a steal.
And it's got, I hate having to talk about this type of stuff, but Chloe, it's got like that value to it. It's got a return on investment to it. If you were to sign him at 23 years old, still another big contract in him, potentially a big deal later down the line. All the things that Liverpool like in a bit of a signing. Now, I've got Romano's tweet from a couple of days ago in front of me. Paris Saint-Germain have agreed every term of Kvaratskhelia contract for the next 5 years. The salary will be 4 to 5 times his current one at Napoli. PSG are in negotiations with Napoli, as revealed here 2 days ago. New meeting next week to get it done. What does it say about the player going Napoli to PSG?
Yeah.
For you?
Enjoy the French league, and that's about it, lads.
Enjoy the 4 times your wages, because he's not on a lot at Napoli,
but, like,
relatively speaking.
You could go Sarzi and you could probably treble that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Whatever. They're not going to win a Champions League. They're not big dogs anymore. I actually thought they were past this. It felt like they've always bought a superstar. Like, it was that mad summer where they decided to buy 7 ex-superstars. One of them not including Messi. He still is that. But like, it's just mad. I just don't get the law of PSG, and I get that they'd got rid of Mbappe, so they need someone else. They need someone to be that person, and fair play to him because he's got loads of money for it and he'll have a lovely life. But will you win a Champions League? No. Will you win pretty much anything but
Liga?
And
the French Cup, maybe.
And the French Cup? Not really. I won't be thinking of you like 20 years down the line as one of the greatest, just because of the team that you've played for. That's
a really good point. You know, like, he may well become the poster boy following on from Kylian Mbappe at PSG, possibly because he's that good. He's got that quality. But he was one, when you look at the best footballers in the world right now, you know, you've got a list of them, obviously Jude Bellingham, Vinicius Jr., Erling Haaland falls into the category, Mo Salah, of course. There's a crop of them. Kvaratskhelia felt like he was under that particular level, but not far, and sort of in the next group of lads who could potentially...
He was the Champions League Young Player of the Year.
Oh, he's a phenomenal footballer, and depending on what his next move was, because I think Napoli are top of Serie A, by the way, so they're flying high, you know what I mean? PSG, as you rightly say, are probably going to win Liga once again. No one's going to upset the apple cart there for a long time, it feels like, so go and win loads of them, whatever. But you had the opportunity to break through that echelon and go into that bracket of world-class footballers and get into Ballon d'Or conversations. But a lot of it that was dependent on what your move was. Now, if PSG aren't going to compete on European stage, which I don't think they will, personally, then he's not going to do that anymore. So he's going to earn a lot more money out of it, but I felt he could have been a bit more patient, maybe, and waited for a Liverpool, a Chelsea, a Manchester United, a Man City, potentially at some point, because they like wingers as well, don't they? Arsenal, anyone, Real Madrid, Barca, whoever, who would have put him on that sort of platform and been at that sort of level. I don't think PSG does a lot for him. I mean, outside of the money.
PSG had one of the greatest young talents up there, and he still binges off when you're his home team to go to Real Madrid, like, because you weren't going to win anything.
Well, he was Monaco, wasn't he? But he was always...
Well, yes, but he moved to PSG, and he's a Parisian, and he was supposed to be... He was offered ridiculous money. They all thought he'd stay there, and he had the opportunity to do that and be what we all hope Trent will do for Liverpool. But instead, he saw Real Madrid and went, actually, lads, I want
PSG
to be
aren't that.
one of the
There's a
best
difference
players in the
between Trent
world.
and Kylian Mbappe. Trent's got a chance of winning the
Yes.
European Cup here. That's the biggest difference for me.
This season.
Yeah.
Any season.
Kylian
I don't
Mbappe.
think Mbappe had a chance at PSG.
Oh, sorry,
to win
I thought you meant now. Okay, yeah.
I think, and I also think Trent has redefined being a right back whilst at Liverpool, and now he's entering his prime years. With Kylian Mbappe, I think we all know he is a special player. He believes he can go and win Ballon d'Ors. He had that unbelievable season and still didn't win a Ballon d'Or. And I think he just recognised that, actually, even though I love this place, like, I don't want to win the French league anymore. I've done it that many times.
Forgotten about Kvaratskhelia.
It just feels like it's his time to move now. All things have come to a head, and this is it. This is the moment where he's going to move, and then it's down to clubs in world football to put their hand in their pocket and put the money on the table, and seemingly there's only one, and that's be where he ends up.
But I think about it saying he's got 2 and a bit years left on his deal, so he doesn't need to wait now. Yeah.
Win another league. Obviously, they're in a battle with Inter Milan, I think.
We don't know.
But he could win
That's
it.
what you should enjoy as a footballer.
Yeah. I
don't
don't understand why he's jumping now, because again, wait around to the summer, and if your options are only PSG,
it's the same as here, where he's got enough games for a league title if they win it anyway, and he can win 2 league titles in the same year.
And agents as well. Agents wanting their little 2 pence.
That's the thing. It doesn't make sense to me, because everyone's still going to be there for you in the summer, and you're likely to get more money because you've got less time on your contract, which means the transfer fee will be lower, your sign-on fee slightly higher, your contract slightly higher. Also, people have budgeted more for summer transfers than January transfers. It just seems a little bit strange, which is why I sort of come back to the Liverpool side of things on it, because we can dwell on that maybe a little bit too much, Steve, but like, Dan mentioned it, Ornstein was talking about Liverpool being in. This is serious from Liverpool, whether anything happens or not. There was a serious chance that Liverpool, it's probably why it was let out, to be honest. Calm your nerves. We like you. We might come for you in the summer. There's no need to fucking go now. Like,
when it came out, though, it was just like Liverpool are linked with him. And then, like we did with Gakpo and Diaz, we thought, hang on a minute, someone's interested in one of our potential targets. We do it now. And that seems to be what PSG are doing. They've come to the table because they've got admiring eyes on him from a distance, same as we have. They don't worry about money in the same way that we do. Well, they haven't previously, and they've not got owners that are sort of pragmatic when it comes to that. So they just might have done what we did with Gakpo, which is said, right, we're going to lose that target. If in the summer he goes to Liverpool, now's the time to strike, offer him money he can't turn down, offer his agent a deal where he can't turn it down, and we get him signed up. It's mad because he's signed a 4-year deal and then he'll be 27 when his contract comes up for renewal again, and he'll have wasted 4 years in what is not a great league.
It's just not competitive, is it?
And you just wonder, you're right, he could have gone on to be in the higher echelons of football. He's got all the ability in the world. It's a really strange move.
He still might do that, but the eyes on him just won't be there.
As much, yeah,
the eyes just aren't going to be there. Like, if you're doing it in one of, I think that fell out of the top 5 European leagues at some point. I think the Portuguese Premier League took over it. So if you're in the Premier League,
2 years ago,
was it the Bundesliga, Serie A, La Liga? That's where you get the acclaim and discussion, unless you are Kylian Mbappe. And now he's an incredible footballer, I keep reiterating the point. So he could well sort of transcend what's going on around him in Liga and PSG, obviously, because he's that good. His Champions League performances might be absolutely sensational, so you can't ignore him. But there's a good chance, come midway through next season, if he is at PSG and he's ripping up trees, we won't really know nor care, with all due respect.
And what I will say is, didn't they get rid of Osimhen recently or something?
Napoli went to Galatasaray.
They offer him to everybody.
What is that about? Like, that's their 2 best players there. And both of them have tried to force ways out. I mean, to be fair, the way they treated Osimhen is absolutely mental, so I'm not surprised he left. But it is mad how, like, that's their 2 big players now who will not be playing.
I think much like in France, the finances around football outside the sort of Premier League and the league a little bit aren't stacking up. So when you do get opportunities to sell big or potentially cash in on some players, you can't ignore them. And clearly Napoli haven't got the wherewithal to offer Kvaratskhelia anything like what he's getting offered elsewhere.
Absolutely. Okay, we're going to move on to the next story then. It's not quite as juicy, so we'll whiz through a few of these because there's quite a few to talk about. But Tyler Morton Dan, I'll start with you on this one, mate. Some really interesting comments from Tyler over the weekend. I've got them on my screen now, actually. I think I had a good game and it was exciting. When you don't get many chances, you got to take them, and I feel I did today. This month is a big month for myself. It's decision time, and I feel ready to kick on and be a proper professional, if that's here or somewhere else. I need to be a bit selfish and go with however I feel.
Yeah, I totally concur with him, to be honest. I think it's similar to the conversation we had about Dan's, obviously framed slightly differently because he's much more ahead. I think he made his 100th professional appearance over the weekend. That was Liverpool. Not for Liverpool, but you know what I mean, in terms of his career. 50 odd for Blackburn, a decent amount for Hull as well. So he's right. He's right. He's of an age now, and he's of a time in his career where he needs to be playing regular footy. And I was very surprised. Obviously, missed some football earlier on the season and comes back in and plays a couple of games for 21s. He shouldn't be playing under 21s footy. He just shouldn't. He's played a lot of football. He's played a lot in the Championship, which, as we know, is a very, very difficult league, very physically demanding. And he's coped with it, and he's coped with it brilliantly. I thought he was very good once again the weekend. I think he's been very good when he's come into the team in the League Cup so far this season. So, yeah, it is decision time. And if he's not going to be playing upwards of 10 games for Liverpool between now and the season, which I can't imagine would be the case, he needs to go out and get a loan. Because I think he was linked to Leverkusen and Leipzig last summer. You don't go from that to playing 5 games of football in a season when you're fit and available all season. It's just not right. And I know from my own sort of sporting career, I wouldn't be happy sat around waiting for opportunities like he is. So I don't blame him. I think it's time.
It tells you that you've got a fella who wants to play football, and that's as good a thing as any. And the confidence to come out and say it as well is another thing. I think a good professional. Chloe Kilmarnock agree loan deal for Ramsey. So we agreed a loan deal to Liverpool right back Calvin Ramsey. Obviously, we just recalled him. 21-year-old is set to join the Scottish Premiership club until the end of the season. Does this put to bed, if there ever anyone doubting whether Trent would leave in January, that he will be leaving in January?
I don't know who thought Trent would be leaving in January, but I feel like there's... They might be the only ones because 20 mil is an absolute joke to start with. But yeah, I guess so, because Conor Bradley has had injury problems. Joe Gomez, sadly, right now is injured, and he would be our cover for right back / centre half. But look, to be fair, I kind of forgot the lad existed. I won't lie to you. Until we recalled him the other day, and now he's going back. Didn't we sign him from a Scottish club?
Aberdeen, yeah. Aberdeen, just shy of 10, I think. Yeah. So
hopefully familiar territory. Hopefully he can go back and he can, stay fit, play games, show the level that he was at. Because that one Cruyff turn and that one pre-season game sent us all...
Sold us a dream.
Yeah, he did. Went down the river there. All the best to him. Really, really hope he turns it around, because, like I said, you play for Liverpool. I want you to, play for us, be good for us. To do that, he's got to get game time. So let's hope he can actually play games.
Okay. Moving on to a big, juicy topic then, Harvey Elliott. Steve, rumours that Borussia Dortmund are circling for the 40 million rated right winger, midfielder.
Difficult one, isn't it?
Is it?
It is, because what we do doesn't suit the way he plays. In terms of the last 3 games when we haven't had Szoboszlai, the lack of the energy in that midfield's been very obvious. Absolutely needed it against Man United. Absolutely, it was glaringly obvious it was missing. I'm not convinced the way we play suits Harvey Elliott as a footballer. And another one, who, more so than all the people we've just spoken about, has probably reached a stage in his career where sitting there being... We spoke about this loads of times last season when we did games and watch-alongs and things. How long does it take for him to get bored of the super sub role? How long does it take for him to sit there and think, actually, I need more than this. This is not where I saw my football career going. Because of the way we play, we've talked about before, what does Slot do with this team, because he's used to playing with number 9. He may not go back to doing that, because he may see what works at Liverpool in the Premier League needs to stay that way. If that's his plan for the next 2 or 3 years, it's more of the same for Harvey Elliott, unfortunately. Great footballer, technically brilliant, consummate pro, does everything you could ever ask of him, seems to be an absolutely cracking lad. But when you set up a game plan and you set up a system and it doesn't include players of that ilk, then question marks are going to be asked. And a move to as much as I don't want to see him go, a move to Dortmund is a great move for a lad like that, because they will utilise his technical ability and he will become a key part of their first team. And it's all subjective at the moment because it may never happen, but that would be a sensible move. You saw Bellingham go and thrive there, and then a move to Sancho twice. So if there is places for someone like that to go and sort of not start again, but continue with what we all know he's capable of doing and do it on a more regular basis, then I wonder whether what we do at the football club suits him.
I was very concerned for Harvey over the last couple of weeks because of the lack of minutes and everything else. But for the last 4 weeks, certainly on deep dives, I think I've been saying, Dan, I think Slot is fucking ruthless.
Yeah.
And I thought there would be some major surprises with who would leave the football club in the summer. I've been saying it, by the way, not for January. I didn't think he'd be as cutthroat as potentially this is. But we haven't really got a sense of how he deals with the squad. I mean, I was thinking Nunez when I was saying it, but I did also say a couple of surprise exits. I think Harvey Elliott would certainly fall under a surprise exit. I think Luis Diaz would be a surprise exit. Rumours that he might go in the summer wanting a big contract and everything else. That was in the Ornstein article, wasn't it, about Kvaratskhelia? These are the types of things that I was sort of wondering if these things would happen. Because Slot, unlike Klopp, doesn't owe anything to these players in the same way. He didn't sign Darwin Nunez. He doesn't give a shit if Klopp spent 85 million on him. He wants a player that's going to fire him to a league title. And he might want a midfielder, like Steve's suggesting, that is more athletic than Harvey Elliott. But all that being said, he's 21 years old. Like, he's just 21 and he's so talented.
Yeah,
it would still be a major surprise to me.
Yeah, it would. It wouldn't be. I take all of Steve's points in terms of maybe isn't ideally suited to the way Slot wants any of his players to play, really, in a lot of senses. And as technically gifted as he is, and I think he is, and as much as we want him to succeed because he's a young player playing for the Liverpool Football Club first and foremost, but he's a massive red as well, so that kind of helps a little bit. That can't carry you to play more games, and it can't just be enough. And yeah, I agree. I don't think anything's going to happen as cutthroat as this window, because you don't want to do anything to sort of harm or derail. We were talking about Jayden Danns maybe not leaving the football club because of that. You definitely don't want to do it with Harvey Elliott. It's become abundantly clear that Slot fancies him more as a right winger and the backup to Salah. He's referenced it once or twice, so much so that he used Jota in the tens opposed to Elliott at the weekend and used Elliott out wide, which is enough of a sign to me. I've never personally been in love with the idea of him being a right winger. I think he lacks that pace, that explosive ability to go past players. I think we did, and it's interesting obviously with him, it's been a strange but short career up until this point for Harvey, really, because he's had to deal with some setbacks, obviously two big injuries, two bad injuries along the way as well. So to get the amount of minutes and the amount of football he's got under his belt at this point is testament to how talented and how much ability the kid has. And he's also had to sort of overcome, Steve said, he got obviously pigeonholed, or he was a super sub for large parts of last season. He came out outwardly and said, I don't want to be that. That's not where I want my career to head to. I want to be a main character in some of these football matches. He's not even a super sub now. He's barely involved at all. He's very much on the periphery. So what happens next with Harvey? I'm similar to Tyler Morton, actually. I can see it from his point of view, because when you are as talented and as gifted as he is, and when you are just desperate to play football, like clearly he is too, and you're not getting opportunities and you feel you are deserving of those opportunities or you warrant them. And I'm not saying he'll be sat there thinking, I'm fucking better than him, why am I not playing? Because it's just not his character, it's not in his nature. He just wears his heart on his sleeve, puts in 110% every time he steps on the pitch. But I'm not sure the opportunities that he wants are going to be forthcoming. So I actually believe it's one that, again, we'll wait on now. But if he plays the symmetrical amount of football that he played in the first half of the season,
so another 243 minutes spread over 10 appearances.
Is that all it is? If that happens, if that's mirrored in the second half of the season, I would not be shocked whatsoever. If it's him, not Liverpool. Liverpool may allow and facilitate this conversation and allow it to become a thing if Brighton or Dortmund do come knocking with an adequate amount of money, which I don't believe is 40 million, by the way. I'll throw that in there now. I think it's upwards of that personally. We want 30 million for Ben Doak and 40 for Harvey Elliott. That maths ain't mathsing. But I think Harvey Elliott would be the one actually instigating that conversation this summer, because I think he's of the ilk and the character to say, I'm not happy with playing 500 minutes of football this season. That's nowhere near enough. What we doing? What we doing about this? So yeah, I can say it's a shame because I really like him and I want him to do well for Liverpool and he's got something. But I come back to the point when you said it, Steve. I don't think that something suits what Slot wants. And let's be honest, Slot's here for the long term. So players are going to have to fit or they're not.
I think Morton Elliott leave the club at some point permanently.
Oh, Morton, I'm certain Morton will. The Elliott one's a little bit more complex.
Might even go in January, depending on what's offered for him. There's no real sense in putting him out. What are you putting him out on loan for?
You're fattening him up again for moving the summer, really. That's it. You are right, though.
You could bank whatever someone offers for him right now if you wanted to. So again, it's. You're right. He is ruthless. You were very disappointed with some of the young lads who were allowed to leave the football club. I think that was a prelude to what he is and who he is and what he does in his management style. And I think, as much as I like Harvey, I think his time at the football club is limited now.
It's a shame, really, because he's he's a Liverpool fan. You know, you love that, don't you, Chloe? I think we all do, and so talented. And it's I don't know whether you're the same as me. It seems baffling that you can't find a spot for someone like that in your squad, and yet we have financial constraints because of the way that we're ran, that mean that probably you can't hold a 40-50 million pound player as your potential third choice attacking midfielder.
Yeah, it's a tough one because actually in pre-season I thought he was absolutely excellent, and I thought he ran the show from that number 10 position, and we were all sat there and going into the season no one was talking about Curtis Jones playing in that number 10. It was actually Harvey Elliott. Dom Szoboszlai is going to have to try and get Harvey Elliott out of this team, and it didn't start that way. Obviously when it actually came to the competitive games you didn't see Harvey Elliott in that position, which says a lot from what Slot thought of him, but from an outside perspective that's what everyone was talking about. And I think people still wanted to see what Harvey Elliott looked like in that number 10. It hasn't helped him that Dom has picked up in terms of his recent performances, and we've realised in the last 3 weeks how important he is to the squad. Kurt has kicked on this season. He's been a little bit shattered in the last couple of weeks, so it's really tough for him. I would still love to see him stay at the club, and I still think there is a place for him. It's most definitely not on the right wing, and that is the problem. I'm sick and tired of seeing the lad there, and he's sick and tired of being there as well. He just doesn't have the pace for what we're after. But in tight spaces in that number 10 area, I think he's absolutely excellent, and I'd love to see him have a run of games there. But the problem is we're in a title charge, so you can't sit here and try things out because that could really derail your season. So it is a tough position now for him, and he's got to decide what he wants to do. But I don't think he's actually being given a chance, and I would like to see that chance. But
is he going to get it?
But that's the thing. I think we all expected not to be going for a league title here, us to be challenging for top four, maybe win, maybe FA Cup, League Cup, whatever. And it was, let's see who fits this system, who fits this style. Let's see, what players we can plug in different positions, and what it looks like differently with different players in the number 10 area was my main point from the pre-season. And instead what happened was we got ourselves top of the table in a title charge, and it's been like, okay, so we can't risk anything, and you will be used as an impact sub very late on when we need you.
It's interesting you say that, because if you write down Liverpool's starting 11, two of our midfield in Szoboszlai and McAllister will give you natural defensive qualities because it's in their game to do that. It's not in Elliott's game to do that. So when it breaks down, as much as he will try physically and pace-wise, he can't do it. Szoboszlai is absolute
monster
sprinting machine, and you know what I mean. So when he loses the ball, he's often the guy who goes and gets it back 30 yards away from where he lost it. Such is his work ethic, and it's not a criticism of Elliott to say he can't do that. Players are different. He's different in a different world under a different manager in a different system. We'd all be sitting here waxing lyrical about him because he's got all the things that you need in a side that plays differently to how we play. But I think in the centre midfield, McAllister gets away with it a little bit because of the way he uses the ball. Is Jones is a little bit more of an athlete than we thought he was. I think Slott's looking at athletes, certainly on that right-hand side, where potentially because of the role our right-back plays and because of the goals we concede down that side, having someone that can do the work is absolutely critical.
Well, yeah,
and I don't think he can ask that.
I think you're spot on. I think obviously the way Trent is and all that, Dom covers a lot for Trent Alexander-Arnold. The fact that you've also got Salah on that side doesn't help that situation in any way, shape or form.
Doesn't track anyone anymore, does it?
That's why Dom's so integral to us, isn't it? And Jones, they've got the engines, the up and down. When you add another creative player like Harvey Elliott in, Dan, you're almost asking for trouble on that right-hand side, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely you are. Yeah, certainly in the way that we play now. And I mentioned it earlier on, like, again, Klopp, one of his sort of parting messages to Liverpool was the fact he wished he used Harvey Elliott more, but we've just changed so much down what we do. You just can't accommodate him. It feels as though the only time really you're going to see him, and you said it there, like in terms of coming on and making an impact, he hasn't really been able to that this season, has he? Like, he's going to be... We're coming up, it might well be tomorrow night, by the way, but we're coming up against a team that is very resolute, very low block, very defensively sound, assured, and you need to throw that bit of X factor on. Fellas are going to take the ball in tight spaces, eye for a pass, little bit of guile. That feels like it's going to be what he can bring to us. I don't see him covering the ground in the way that Dom Szoboszlai does or Curtis Jones does. And I also make the point that Arne Slot seems to have his heart set on the fact that he can be some sort of backup under such a Mo Salah. A, how often has he done such a Mo Salah? I would argue very rarely, because Touchwood is fit almost exclusively. And B, if Harvey Elliott is viewed as that for some reason, and Mo Salah, as time of recording, as we sit here right now, is leaving the football club in the summer, I love Harvey, but he's not the replacement for Mo Salah. Like, he just isn't. You know what I mean? He doesn't have the volume of goals.
So he's understood he should be his eventual replacement.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's just not the case right now, is it? So no one could put to me that if Salah does leave for free, walks away from the club at the end of the season, we're not going to go out and sign someone to play in that position, because you just would, because it isn't Harvey Elliott, and I really like him, but that's where we're at.
Just going to put a pin in this conversation. The Liverpool-Everton game has been rearranged 17 seconds ago on Twitter.
Go on.
Liverpool are saying fixture update Wednesday the 12th of February, 7:30, Goodison Park. New time and date has been confirmed. Obviously, we play Plymouth on the 8th.
Yeah, the Sunday, that'll be. Yeah.
So we play the 9th, the Sunday.
It must be the 9th. We play on the Thursday night against Spurs. So it'll have to be the 9th.
Cool.
It'll be Thursday, Sunday, Wednesday in that case.
Okay, so I've got Plymouth and then Papa Roach. Sounds okay, that's logged in my personal diary. And then the Super Bowl straight after that. That's going to be a heavy old day of footy. And yeah, drinking. Great. February the 9th, stacking up to be a great day. Fantastic. Rise Against, I think, is supporting them as well. Anyway, 12th of February. What's after that game then? I'm just going to try and find out.
I feel like we played Wolves, but that is a bit of a stab in the dark for me. 16th Wolves, actually, top of my head. 2 o'clock kick-off on a Sunday.
Okay, Plymouth, it's down as the 8th, but we know it's going to be moved to 9th. You're right, Dan. It's the 6th of February that we play Tottenham. Wolves, 16th of Feb, after the 12th game against Everton. So Tottenham, Plymouth, Everton, Wolves, City away. Rounds out our fixtures there. Like, that's interesting, isn't it? I'm going to go through a couple of super chats. Dan, this one's for you, Jaden Granville. Anyone know what to go with Bajcetic is?
Looks like he's off to Real Betis. Cutting short his Salzburg loan, which isn't a huge surprise given... Clearly, I mentioned earlier on how protected Liverpool are of their loanees and the fact they want them to get the best possible care, time and attention wherever they are, and I feel like the Salzburg loan was perfect when Pep Linders was there. When Pep Linders got sacked, that suddenly became not the case anymore. So yeah, looks like he's off to Real Betis, coming back and then immediately to Spain. He come from Spain, obviously he was a Celta Vigo, so he's back in sort of his homeland there. And a lot of people...
We've got a decent relationship with after the Champions League final, I suppose.
Yeah, and Adrian's over there as well, obviously
Yeah.
the goalie, so that might help settle Stefan in over there. A lot of people are quick to sort of dismiss Stefan. A lot of conversations around Liverpool Football Club at the moment. I'm not so certain his days are numbered with us personally. I think if he definitely needs a good half a season. He's done okay in the Austrian Bundesliga, like 18, 19 appearances, not potentially got the amount of football or the minutes that we would have hoped and wished. But in terms of raw talent and ability, I think he's got the absolute lot, hasn't he? We've seen enough of that in his short stint in the side. So, yeah, I think a good second half of the season in the sunny climate of Betis would do him the world of good, and I think he's got a sniff next year.
Okay. Liam Farrell, thank you for a couple of super chats here. Chloe, I'll come to you with this one. What's Elliott worth given age and experience? And he's got another one as well. if we want 30 million for Doak, am I wrong? Elliott is 60 plus.
Yeah, he's more than 40, that's for sure. I mean, 21. My words, don't know what's going on there. Feels like I'm Back to the Future.
I think they're celebrating the fact that they get to players with Moyes in charge instead of Dyche.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. Yeah, no, I agree. I think Harvey Elliott is worth a lot more than Ben Doak, that's for sure. I mean, I'm surprised that we're putting a price tag of 30 mil on Ben Doak, because I don't think you're going to get anywhere near that. But give it a go, sure. But yeah, like you said, Harvey Elliott, how many games has he played for Liverpool already in his career alone? And he's proven he can do it at this level. He's not leaving Liverpool potentially because he's not good enough. It's because he just doesn't fit the system that we play. So that's not on him. That's on the way that and the style that we play footy. So yeah, I would agree. I think if someone gave me just 50 mil for him, I'd be slightly fuming at it.
Really, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I say, young English, if he's in the Premier League move, that adds a little bit of English tax, doesn't it, as well? So yeah, I think 50 plus is
the English thing's important though for
quotas and that.
us.
It's massively important.
You just worry about where the money is in football at the moment with all the constraints, and it could look like 40 plus add-ons up to 60 depending on what happens. That's kind of the way deals are being constructed now, isn't it?
We have been so steadfast in our valuations of players to the point whereby we've rejected bids that we deem. Bobby Clark was an example of this. You know, it was quite clear he was off at some point, but I think Salzburg had like a £9 million bid rejected. We held out for 12, do the deal at 12. Liverpool we done it with Nat Phillips as well prior to that too. So if we stick a valuation on a player, we stick to it. You know what I mean? And we've done that with Ben Doak, clearly, because I think it was Ipswich and Crystal Palace came in with like 19 million and we want 30, which may seem high, but whatever. I struggle to see how we can come up with those valuations for those players and then put 40 on Harvey and not stick to whatever we deem acceptable. I think it'd be higher than that personally.
Is that not just media talk, that figure? Though?
Might well be, but where I'm coming from, the angle I'm coming at more is the fact that Liverpool will be higher, it'd be about 50, and we wouldn't accept a bargaining type deal because we have him at 50, unless like Brighton come along and they want to swap Carlos Baleba plus 15 million, then I'll talk to you. But outside of that, yeah.
Okay. Talk Sam in the dark for you. How many matches do you think he's played in his professional career?
Harvey?
Yeah.
121.
Slightly less.
142.
He's played in 174 matches.
Wow.
He started 98 matches.
I think 40 on loan at Blackburn. I want to say something like that. Decent
31 starts, 41
start.
appearances. He's such an experienced player, isn't he?
21, that's mad.
For 21 years old.
21 plus 2 healthy, lengthy layoffs with big injuries as well. Like, that's really impressive.
Absolutely. Final story that we're going to go through. We haven't got time to go through all of the ones that I wanted to talk about today because it's been such a good show, actually. Darwin Nunez, Al Hilal offer. There was one in quotation mark either side. By the way, for anyone listening on podcast, so it's not a real quotation mark. It didn't actually happen because it's only one. Slot substitute, 20.8 million yearly salary with 84 million transfer lined up. How have they done that then? How have they spoken to him, Chloe? Have they offered him a contract, Chloe?
I don't know. I don't.
Is it allowed? Are you allowed to just speak to people now?
I mean, it happens. Didn't we do that with Virgil?
No one was allowed to speak to Trent Alexander-Arnold until January the 1st.
Still happened though, didn't it?
Okay,
how much though was it?
It's a 20.8. I think we want 400 grand a week.
How much are they offering us though?
How much are they offering us?
£84 million transfer lined up. This is bullshit. It's going to be 40-50 million quid.
Okay, I was about to say, because if you get anywhere near 80 million for Darwin Nunez, you've worked
if you get anywhere near 50 million quid, you take it too.
They're saying 100 million euros, which is 84 million pounds, and that is Spanish publication Ferrari.
Oh, not that one. Okay,
that one. They crop up every transfer window with some outrageous.
If I was an Al Hilal fan, I would not be getting Darwin Nunez on the back of my shirt based on that report. Let's put it like that. Listen.
What's the price that you say yes, Dan? This January?
40. Oh, this January.
Oh, God.
This January.
This January.
50. 40 in the summer.
I actually don't think that's bad.
40.
Yeah.
40
quid. No.
Oh, come on. Come on.
Packet of crisps.
I maintain
Glass bottle of Coke, not plastic.
Oh yeah, last one.
I maintain my concerns about sending anybody deemed in the first team squad
Yeah.
when it comes to Liverpool this season.
So you
because-
solve your Jaden Dan's problem.
Yeah, he sticks around, doesn't he, at that point? No. I'm not interested. Anyone who's contributed in any way positively to Liverpool's season thus far, I would not be allowing to leave unless there was a bona fide proper replacement coming in for the door.
Okay, I'll caveat that for you.
Go on.
He goes now, or we don't get any interest in him in the summer.
And we keep him.
Yeah.
Oh, Steve, that's a horrible caveat, that.
What about, here's one for you that
Go
if
on.
you can't answer
No,
that.
yeah, go on,
What
I
about
could've.
if you could sell him, would you take Semenyo as a replacement for him? this
That's
January?
very different, isn't
I know
it?
it is.
Would I? Yeah, do you know what I would? Because I think you can do enough. There's enough fluidity and enough utility within our forward ranks that you could do a little bit of pokery with.
Chloe,
them.
why just scoff?
I didn't scoff. It's just unbelievable. We're top of the league, and these are the conversations that we're having.
Yeah, but we're not the finished article. And what I would say is we've already spoken about Arne Slot and what he wants and what he doesn't want and how ruthless he is.
Yeah.
I think there are some, you alluded to it, there's some big calls coming down the pipe. We may well win the league, we may win the Champions League, which is
And
just
still it's gonna happen.
and there's still going to be some big things because the squad isn't built in Arne Slot's image. That's clear. We spent the past 20 minutes speaking about players that do and don't fit. There's going to come a time, probably this summer,
No, but I
whereby
am
that
looking at
changes.
this summer. Summer, yes.
But the caveat makes a problem for Darwin.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, I'm not living in that world right now.
Sorry,
I'm
Steve.
just playing devil's advocate. being
I'm hoping
facetious
that
for the sake of it,
someone
you know?
comes-
I hope Darwin comes good still.
Not happening, Dan.
But I made the point a few weeks ago. Jota needs to stay fit.
It's easier to hope for someone to do well who's at your club than not have a fucking clue who Liverpool want and hope that they do well.
Yeah.
We could all live in a fantasy world whereby we say,
that's fair.
take 40 for Darwin or 50 for Darwin and then go and get Isak. You know, we can all live in that world, but that's just not happening, is it?
I
So
would fucking do that though. I mean, that would be pants down,
is that a
running
world?
in, socks on, everything like
is that a world we can live in momentarily? No, but listen, again, I don't want to do anything that upsets the apple cart right now at Liverpool, and I think selling Darwin would be that. But if Steve's caveat was legitimate,
Which is, what was
There's
that one?
no
Sorry,
interest in the summer.
Well, I mean, he stays another 6 months, it might not be.
it's too long. I don't. The centre forward thing is not at the top of my list, but it's not far off in terms of the summer and sort
I'll
of
tell you
big
why
changes.
I'll tell you why I did it, because I think we're at the stage where any interest in him at any stage has to be considered. because
Yeah, I'm with you.
it's such a bad fit for what we're trying to do, and it isn't working. And I wanted it to work for him. And
But what it can't be, sorry to interrupt, Steve, what it can't be is you take the money and you do fucking nothing with it.
correct, yeah.
No, you
Yeah, I
have to
agree with
replace. Yeah. But not only is it a bad fit, which I tend to agree with as well, by the way, but it's not even the wrong fit working, by which I mean he can not do all the stuff that Arne Slot wants him to do, but when the big moments
Still
come,
score.
still score your goals. And the minute he's not even capable of doing that for us. And I still like him. I still maintain an admiration towards him. And I still back him to the hilt because he plays for Liverpool Football Club.
Agreed.
However, there's no two ways about it. Like, the time has come. You said it earlier on, like, we're nigh on 3 years into his Liverpool time, and it just has never really happened. And I don't think it's going to at this point, unfortunately.
Nor do I. The Isak thing, we're going to talk about it in the Bias Football podcast over on Redmen Plus shortly. Obviously, he's one of the names, Chloe, that Arsenal are linked with. I think everyone here has a long-standing liking of Isak's qualities. I think everybody's probably, it's fair to say, has also been a little bit, the injury problems, because we've had players with injury problems over the last few years. If Arsenal were going in for him, do you think Liverpool absolutely have to go in for him? Just to piss the Arsenal fans off as well.
To go
Prove that
quid
we're the bigger
over
club.
what they do. I would love Isak at Liverpool, I really would. But if he's only fit a similar amount of games as Diogo Jota, sadly, I can't be having it. Because I adore Diogo Jota, and yet I still get frustrated out of my mind at his lack of availability. If they went in for Isak, Liverpool better have a player lined up. If it's him, then yes, you go in for him. If it's not, you most definitely go in for the other player, because I think we all know that Arsenal, we've been saying it for several years, I don't know why they've not done it. They need a striker. That's what they need. I mean, we all saw Kai Havertz at the weekend. So if he is the number one on the list and Arsenal going for him, yeah, sure. But ultimately, if there's another player there, I think this summer Liverpool have to get rid of Darwin Nunez if he is the same. And by the way, I mean, I can't even say if he's the same. He is the same. He's the same as what he's been. And I'm not sure the next 4 months can change that. I really don't know. Like, that's 4 months. I don't know whether I have the trust to say those last 4 months there.
You've turned the tide.
It's really hard to say. But I'm not sure. I just
if he
don't
scores
see
10 goals between now and the end of the season, would you be like me and think, well, that doesn't mean he's kicked on?
I want to see.
I think that's how sort of poorly.
Set in your mind,
I think about it, and I don't think that's a good thing for a player to be in any fan's mind.
No.
But, and you're right, and then next season we'll see a further evolution of what Slot wants to do as we come away from the Jurgen Klopp animal, which we still are from time to time, more towards what he wants to do, and I think that gulf gets bigger.
Yeah. That's the problem. And it'd be interesting to see whether Slot felt the same, because let's just say Darwin does go on a hot streak of scoring. Mm-hmm. That's right, I said it. And he gets 10 to 15 goals between now and the end of the season and helps 5 us to a title or whatever silverware comes at the end of it. If then Slot made the decision that he still wasn't right, that'd be a real indicator to where we were headed.
It's mad how we could win a league title and you think of the big players that took you there, and your £80 million forward isn't one of the players that comes to mind.
That's my point earlier when I...
Like, that is mental.
Yeah.
Mental.
Yeah, that's where we're at.
Absolutely. Okay, a couple of super chats before we wrap it up. Etam Olhashan, thank you so much. Says, thoughts on City signing an Egyptian? Imitation is the best form of flattery. Etam, we will be talking about that one on the Bias Football podcast, of course. But yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on there. And Liam's back. Elliott leaving could be our Cole Palmer for City. Thinking 2-3 years would be a massive regret. I'd want a buyback clause. Yeah, Liam, I totally get that. I think Cole Palmer's probably a different gravy compared to Harvey Elliott, unfortunately, for me.
Michael Edwards likes the buyback.
Yeah, absolutely. We never used one, have we?
No, Ryan Booster was the biggie one. I think Dom Solanke met as well. But no.
Because normally when Liverpool decide that you're leaving, that's kind of it. Unfortunately. But listen, if there is one player that I wouldn't sort of bet against, it would be Harvey Elliott, actually. I think the big thing for me there is good players can leave your football club and they can still not fit what you're doing. And ultimately, if Slot deems that he's not fitting what we're doing, then that's the deciding factor, not how good a footballer he is. I think everybody has said that Elliott is a great footballer. So we're going to go very shortly to do the Bias Football podcast. Get on that, redmenplus.com, or you can get the Redmen Plus video subscription on YouTube. And we'll also be back later on this evening with the Nottingham Forest preview. So yeah, check back on the channel later tonight for that one. Thank you so much for watching, interacting in the super chats. Don't forget to like the video, and we'll see you all soon. Ta-ra.